We've got a view of this one. And a view of that one. Alright, Braumeister versus Grainfather. I wanted to do an experiment. I wanted to compare two all-grain, all-in-one systems with exactly the same recipe and exactly the same mash schedule to see which one came out better. Now, I'm an all-grain brewer. I have my own equipment. So I borrowed equipment. I borrowed a Braumeister from Dean from Carry Wines. Carry Wines are the New Zealand distributor of the Speedle products. And I grabbed a Grainfather from Paul Payne. So thank you guys for lending me the equipment. I moved my mash tun out of the way, as you'll see in the video, and set up to do a brew. So I wanted to know what it was like for an out-of-box experience in brewing. You know, you buy this equipment, you take it out of the box, and you want to do your first brew. How does it work? Without going on forums and talking to other people and making tweaks about its operations and, you know, making adjustments to it and stuff like that. Just a straight out-of-the-box brew and see what happens. Now, there was a lot of footage, so I've broken it down into three parts. The first part, this part, is about the setup of the equipment and what it sort of looks like and just the fundamentals of it. Part two is about mashing in, where I'm measuring the gravity at each step in the mash temperature at the beginning and end of the mash cycles, just to see which one's coming out more efficient. And part three is all about the boil and cooling down, and an overview of what I think the systems are. So hopefully you enjoy the videos. Like, subscribe, comment, etc. And I'll see you on the next one. Alright, today I'm going to be doing a brewing comparison between the Brewmeister, 20 litre Brewmeister, and the 20 litre Grainfather. Now, I've only ever used the Brewmeister once, and I've never used the Grainfather before, so I'm going to approach them like a complete novice and hope it works. Yeah, the main idea of this comparison brew is just to sort of see what the efficiency is and the ease of use and how the beer finishes out. You know, I want to see which beer actually tastes better. Will they taste better? And yeah, the recipe is identical. And it is a simple American Pale Ale. It has 3 kg of American Pale Ale. It has 2 kg of Gladfield's Pilsner, 300 grams of Gladfield Toffee, and 300 grams of Gladfield Light Crystal. The hop additions, there is 25 grams of Cascade at 40 minutes, 30 minutes, and 20 minutes. And 50 grams of Citra at 5 minutes. So both machines are going to have exactly the same recipe, exactly the same volumes. I just need to measure the dead space in both of them, and that dead space I will refill with sparge water. But other than that, both of them will be set with a 25 litre volume to start off with, aiming for a finished volume of 20 litres each. Alright. Let's have a look at the equipment. The Brewmeister, it has a nice little control unit. This control unit allows you to put in a bunch of steps, so a whole bunch of mash temperature steps and how long they're going to be for, and alerts for your hop schedules and everything like that. So it makes it really simple just to dial it all in. On the Grainfather, it has a more simple STC200 controller, so you need to keep a track of the time and up the temperature as you go through your mash profile. It's not a biggie, it's just set this one here and bugger off and leave it and do its thing. This one, set your phone to give you a reminder and come in and up the temperature at the different mash step times. Alright, let's have a look inside the Brewmeister. If there was anything I'd change, it would be this wing nut. Of course, as you're mashing, you're going to get up to 78 degrees, and you want to take the mash pipe out. That's the bit in the middle. You want to take the mash pipe out. In order to do that, you've got to undo the wing nut, and it gets a bit hot. And if it's hot, you could accidentally drop it in the mash, bloop, and that would be a pain. So I would recommend, if there was ever going to be a change, that there was some kind of clamping mechanism on here that was attached to this cross pipe that locked down onto that, and just a little ratchet clamp or something, so it was just one unit. Now the reason that we have this wing nut that screws down is it puts pressure onto this pipe, and this pipe transfers the pressure onto the mash pipe, and the mash pipe at the bottom, which we'll see soon, has a silicon seal on it, so that creates volume of space here compared to the volume outside, so that you can suck the wort from the outside and pump it up through the centre, because of course the Brewmeister underlets. Let's just take this out. Has a top mesh screed. This would be sitting on top of your grain bed, and the wort is going to come up and overflow over the edge. There's also mesh. There's a bottom filter plate as well, but there's also a mesh filter that goes between each one. So nothing's going to get through, no grain's going to seep through. You've maintained all the grain in the mash pipe. Now there's a little U-clamp, they sort of put a little U-bracket they put on there, so that when you pick the mash pipe out, because of course it's going to be heavy, there is a handle as well, so that you can pick it up. There are some little lugs. You turn around and you set the little lugs and let it drain. It works. It's a very simple, easy idea. Now, here's the seal at the bottom. So there's the silicon seal that makes that positive seal at the bottom of the vessel. Down inside it, we have an element that runs around the outside. Temperature probe, outlet for the pump, and inlet for the pump. It's nice and clean in here. There's no areas where you're going to get a build-up. Now, of course, I brewed and I had quite a lot of hops in there, and the pump kept on working perfectly fine. No issues there at all. So yeah, overall, Brewmeister is a very tidy, well-engineered piece of kit. The weld lines are just beautiful. It's just really, really been put together extremely well. It's the kind of bit of kit that you want to invest in, and it will last you a lifetime. Alright, the Grainfather. This has got some really innovative little features in it. It's quite cool. There's some neat design ideas. Now it does have a clamp, 4 little clamps that come around and clamp the lid down, because this unit can also be transformed into a still. So you obviously clamp on a copper hood and away you go, you've got a still. But for its main purpose, was brewing, it works well. Some of the cool features are the pump outlet. It's at the top, so a little cap here just so that no bugs sort of get in there. But having a pump right at the top, whenever you turn the pump off, everything drains out, so there's no spillage. There's never any spillage with the pump. These little fittings that screw in can be a little bit tricky if they're not put in nice and square and nice and true, but they make a decent seal, and away you go. So it does work really well when you need to interchange bits and take this bit off. As soon as you turn off the pump and take this bit off, there's nothing that's going to leak out because it's at the highest point. So it's a good idea. However, the pipes and returns are a little bit short, but that's easily fixed. You can easily change the silicon tube over. The same thing with the counterflow chiller. The pipes on it are really, really small, and so it can only really sit on top of the lid, which is where it's designed to sit, but I'd really want to change them and make them bigger. Right, inside it, let's have a look inside. Grainfather has a mesh pipe as well, same as the Brewmeister. Oops, just take that a little bit off. This is the return locking mechanism for the centre pole. The centre pole is adjustable, and this well machined, a little bit of stainless, locks the top plate. Oop. Stuck on there. Bit awkward in my hand. This little unit sits on the top and it locks this top filter into place. Now it's a bit tight, bit of a tight fit to get it in there with the silicone seal around the edge, but hey, it does the trick. A little bit clunky. Right, here we go. It's tall and it's long and it's got some little feet on it. Oh, let's get the feet in the right spot. Okay. You see there's a little bracket that's around, get in there, all four sides, 4 brackets that come around the circumference of the top of the vessel, so that when you lift up the mash pipe, it's got these little legs, lift it up, give it a turn, and you've got something to sit on. So it's easy, it's nice and simple, built in, sit it up there and let it drain. Now as I said, it's tall, so really having it on a bench, it's quite high to get that mash tun up, get that mash pipe up. So normally you would be brewing at floor level, but does the trick. Just take that out of the way. Down the bottom, concealed element underneath. The return for the pump has a little filter on it, which gets blocked with hops. So it's meant to be a hop blocker. It does definitely get blocked with hops. So I would recommend, if you are putting hops in your boil, to put them in a bag, because it blocked and it was really difficult to keep that pump running. The pump outlet, well, the pump just seems to be a little bit too weak to handle pushing those hops through. And this, once I finished, got all my wort out, all of the hops were all sucked in around this area. There was nothing over here, it was all sucked in over here, making it very difficult to pump through. So my pump kept on getting blocked up all the time. I had to stop it and start it and give it a little bit of a squeeze. So that would be one sort of minor flaw, is just the hop back that's in there and how it's blocking it. Does work, a little bit of tinkering. As I said, put your hops in a bag and everything will be fine. This graduation's up the side, all the way to 30 litres. That's good. Yeah, seems to do a good job. It's nice and clean inside there. There is a little bit of a connection groove around there that can get some stuff stuck in there, so you really need to get a brush in there and make sure that no grime or anything's been left inside there. Same thing up the top here with these little supports. You don't want to make sure that you get no crap that's sort of stuck in there. So cleaning might be a little bit difficult to try and get in there and make sure it's all nice and spotless. Control unit on the front works, does the trick. Down the side, where are we? Here we are. There's a switch for mash and normal. Now this switches the element from being a 2000 kilowatt element to a 500 kilowatt element. Not sure why you'd need to drop the element down. Possibly because the pit overshoots. So if you have a lesser wattage element, you're not heating up as fast, so you don't run the risk of overshooting your temperature. However, the drawback of that is it takes a little bit longer for it to ramp up its temperatures. I put it down to 2000 watts to try and speed it up a little bit more, and I definitely overshot with my temperature. So that would be the reason why they've got a switch down there to change the wattage. But other than that, it seems to work well. Alrighty, I'm filling up both vessels. The Grainfather has 23 litres of water in it, and the Brewmeister has nearly 15 litres of water in it. Now the Brewmeister has some little indications on the centre pole here, which is 15, 20 and 25 litre mark. Now I'm going to be putting 23 litres into both. On the Grainfather there is a graduation scale down the inside so you can clearly see it. Now this water is coming out of my HLT so that I could pass it through my filters. There's my filters over there. And preheat it just a little bit this morning just to bring up the temperature. I think I brought the temperature up to about 37 degrees just to save a little bit of time. But yeah, I wanted to make sure that the water was filtered in the same way that I filter my beer, my water when I brew. I have connected both of these devices up to my main control panel. Because I have plugs underneath my bench and I have a 36 amp line coming into my brew house because both of these will both pull 10 amps. So, power. I have set the protein rest temperature, or my mash in temperature, at 52 degrees. We'll have a look here, hopefully. I'll press on that. Should show me, yep, there we go, 52 degrees. So that is set and off, and turned on my mash tun, and the mash pipe is in there, and I can hear the sound of an element humming. Now the Brewmeister is programmable, and you set its protein rests and its mash temperatures and your hop additions, and it cycles through and it gives you a beep every time it needs to do it, and ramps up the temperature automatically and everything like that. So it's going to go through and program that in. Might take me a little bit of time, might have to go find the manual, but we'll give it a crack. So I'll be back once I've programmed it in. Okay, we're underway. Well, we're bringing both of the vessels up to a protein rest temperature of 52 degrees. You can see a little bit of water activity there. Down here on the Brewmeister, you can see that the pump is working and that it's heating, and that the temperature is currently 40 degrees and it's heating it up to 52. Easy peasy. On the Grainfather we are currently at 49 degrees, and the little switch here says that we're at the mash temperature. So on the switch here, if it's switched down, that means it's controlled by the pid. If it's switched up, which is boil, that means it just overrides the pid and it just goes full tit. And then this one on the side is the pump. Now there's a little bit of a design flaw here. It might not be a design flaw. It means that you can't keep this little lid up. It doesn't stay up by itself, which is a good thing because water could splash on this. So I suppose if you left it up like this accidentally, water could get in and zap it. So maybe a good feature. Right, so this is gently recirculating. This one here, it's just gently heating it up. A bit noisier. Grainfather's a bit noisier with its element. Its element's right at the bottom. It's a concealed element. This one of course has that element that's wrapping around the side. And if we can see all the way down there, isn't that a pretty picture? Wow. So we'll let these things heat up. At the same time I am heating up my HLT to my sparge temperature of 78 degrees. I thought I'd better get that done before I kick into things, because then that will be quite a lot of elements running. The Grainfather has reached its protein rest temperature and the pid is turned off, as you'd expect. So there we go, we have our liquid in there ready for the grains to be added. The Brewmeister is at 50 degrees, 52 degrees is its target, so it's nearly there as well. So we're nearly there. So let's see if we can pop you up here on the tripod. We've got a view of this one, and a view of that one. Yay. Right. Now the mash profile that I'm doing for this is a 3-step mash. I am doing 35 minutes at 63 degrees, 35 minutes at 73 degrees, and 10 minutes at 78, and then sparging out with a bit of 78 degree water just to help rinse the grains and bring up that volume back to where it should be. So let's get the grains into Grainfather. Just a little bit. Yeah. One done. Now we have this little thing to slide on the top, seal it all in. Oops. Silicone just came off. Okay, after a little bit of jiggery pokery, I managed to get the screen in the top, just sitting nice and level with the top of the grain bed. And let's take this little cap off. Put our lid on because you can't get the lid on once you put the recirc pipe in. Now the recirc pipe just goes in there onto the grain bed and seat it down. Now I need to set my timer for a 10-minute protein rest. Let's get my grains into the Brewmeister now. Seeing we've reached temperature, and then we'll enter start as soon as the protein rest is finished on the Grainfather. Busy. Right, we are in. As I said, this pipe is what creates the pressure for the malt pipe to seal at the bottom, so the pumping pumps up and through and over.